Hello, my name is Pastor Perry Hill. I am the founder of Lifeline Press Center.
I am Angeline Hill. I am the Vice President of Lifeline Press Center.
I'm VTerrillHill, the founder of SafeSpace.
We would like to invite you to our conference,
Impartation 2025.
A cross-generational family conference.
Our generation deserves to serve God without constraints of cultural or religious beliefs.
The purpose of this event is to bridge the gap from one generation to the next. That different styles of worship are done in unison to the divine one, and the power of God may be felt like Pentecost.
Honoring God based on who you know God to be from the depths of our hearts, that everyone will feel the love of God with no limitations.
For more information,
go to lifelinepresscenter.com
or scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen. Hey everybody, I hope you guys are well, and I need to take this thumbnail down. All right, there it is. Hey everybody, I hope you guys are well. Welcome to episode 21. Now listen, I know my parents are not up here because we got a really, really interesting show today. We got the preacher's kids on today. And we're going to dish all the tea on what it was like being raised in the church by the people of God.
Already.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's going to be an interesting one today. So, first of all, before we get started, I want you guys to know there is a conference coming March the 7th through the 9th in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the four of us will be there. Yeah. Matter of fact, I think the best way to advertise this conference is to just simply have this conversation here.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself anywhere in what we're saying, this conference is for you, because we're definitely going to bridge the gap. All right. All right. I have on top here two illustrious women. Can you guys introduce yourselves?
Go ahead. Yes. Hi. My name is Evangela. I go by Vanjie. I am Vincent Hill's sister, Mary and Mary Angeline Hill's daughter. I am an OG preacher's kid.
OG. Okay.
My name is Missy.
All right. That's it, Missy? No more introduction? Okay, fair enough.
You know who I am?
Okay, well, I guess. Okay, the assumptions of it all. All right. And then this illustrious woman on below. Can you introduce yourself, ma'am?
I am Christina. I go by Chrissy. I am Sharon and James McDuffie's daughter.
Okay.
Troublemaker out of all of them. That's what they say.
And you're the troublemaker out of all of them.
That's what the church said. That's what the church said.
All right. Lord have mercy. Okay. So all of you all have been raised in the church, correct?
Yes.
Gotcha. So y'all are ready to have this candid, vulnerable conversation in front of the people then, huh?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Let's get into it. Now, before we start dishing all the dirt in the tea, let's start on a high note. First of all, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Feliz Navidad.
Yes. Oh, excuse me. And happy holidays to those who don't celebrate Christmas.
Yes.
This is a special Christmas episode with the children. And it's hard to call us children, and all of us are grown. But nonetheless, we're still somebody's children. So let's start with the more positive. We were all raised in the church. What do you all think? If any of y'all can go first. What are some of your positives about being raised in the staunch Black Pentecostal heavy church? Specifically, if we can be really specific, the Yes Lord Church of God in Christ.
Yes.
All right, any of y'all go first.
I will say just the but it's also for us, it's also a mixture of, we were all military church kids at that. So, but it was the mixture of actually meeting different people when going to the different convocations, to the different church, driving 2 hours down the Autobahn to go to some service, Fulda for all the 100 times we had to go to Fulda. We met quite a few people that we've even kept in contact with once we all, became adults and moved away.
Yeah. So for you, it was community.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right, who else?
I'll go. So the church kids were my friends. I knew that they were going to be at the Friday night service. I knew they were going to be at the New Year's Eve service.
Right.
I knew like I could count on this core group of people to be at church, and I wasn't going to be the only one. So the church people were my friends. Of course, like Benji said, growing up in the military, we was a small knit community, but all outside of being in school, I knew I was gonna see my girls at Friday night service. So
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Misa, what you got?
You know what? It's the same thing. I think it's just the community. Just being able to, like Christina was saying, you know, part of growing up, not having outside friends, you had your friends in the church. So you know, if you weren't allowed to like go out and hang out with all the other kids, you knew you'd be able to hang out with your church, you know, friends at church and stuff. So community is probably one of the biggest things, because to be honest, it probably felt like we spent more time in church than outside of church. So it just made sense that that's what we enjoy the most and latch to, because it's a part of who we are. It's part of Black culture, really.
Interesting.
Can I add my most favorite memory? I'm sorry.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Mine is I lost my shoe when
you was shouting.
No, push. What were we called? The
Puritans.
The Puritans, and we went to Texas.
The drill team, yeah.
The drill team. That was my favorite. Our trip to Texas was my favorite.
Yeah.
Favorite memory.
So I'm wondering, because all of us for example, we don't know what it felt. We didn't know, rather, what it felt like to sleep in on a Sunday. I wonder how kids that were not raised in church, where did they find community at? Because it just wasn't siblings, but for example, all of us are related either by blood or time served on this panel. So for example, the McDuffies are like aunts and uncles, which is Chrissy's parents, right? So I wonder how that works for children that were raised outside of church.
I would say my son and Zoe. Let me take Zoe out. Zion was not really raised in the church. So when I first had Zaire, my parents had her. I spent the year at home, and then my parents raised her. I went back to school. So, of course, she has to follow suit. She's in the church. Well, there's Zion, who I was like, you know what? I'm going to raise my son on my own. I wasn't in the church. So he kind of like, now when I see him, I'm like, I should have had him in the church. He did. But Zaire's community, she is like us. She looks for community in the church. She's looking for that one person she can kind of connect with, and they are like-minded. As my son, he's all over the place. So I can see the difference. He has community in his basketball team and his homeboys here. And so it's a lot different. Now, Zoe, I am back in the church, and Zoe's community is the youth group. It is the individuals when she want to be open. It is the individuals within the church. So
Right.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and that's interesting because the younger boys have been raised in and out of church at the same time, and they don't have that church community because their church. They were younger when I was going to the church in Morrisville, and then I didn't go to church. Period. And then when I started going to church, it was here and there trying to find some work because and then when I started going to my parents' church, there's not a lot of kids, so they don't. Their community is baseball team friends, wrestling team friends, and he's the youngest, so interesting enough, his community is his brother's friends.
Yeah. And David got a community in his head too. And
he does. He really, truly does. I'm not listening.
Check my TikTok out. So that's so interesting. Now, it didn't dawn on me, and I'm glad you guys mentioned kids, and Misa, we'll get to you in a second, but I'm glad you guys mentioned kids. Was it on purpose or circumstantial that you all did not raise your kids as staunchly in the church as you all were raised?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. For me, as my mother has called me, I'm a lukewarm Christian. So part of their problem is it depends on if I was going to church or not. I just I love God, serve God, honor God, pray, and all that other stuff. But I think subconsciously, this whole Wednesday night, Friday night, 3 or 4 times on a Sunday, but let's not forget somebody got something on a Saturday. Even when we were in Germany, you know, Daddy was had an Array of Hope, but then Mom was doing the chat up there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this or not, but by the time I turned 16 or 17, Sunday school, I stopped going. They didn't. I don't know if they just didn't want to fight with me anymore, but I stopped going to Sunday school.
Right.
I wouldn't show up to church. I'd be over at the Burger King area because I was not going to be sitting in church all day.
Yeah. So now, Misa, you were raised in church. Are you a staunch churchgoer now?
Well, see, my thing is, I would say I'm more aligned with, because even though I'm the oldest, I'm more aligned with the generation after. Well, I am the generation after y'all.
Absolutely.
So y'all were more so raised in the church, like full time. I was raised part time, and so I got to experience what it was for a period of time in the church, what it was for a period of time out of it, what it was in it, and then going into my adulthood and my 30s now, you know, I just kind of, with my own faith walk with Christ, I don't go as often as I did when it was like a constant thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like part-time. I was in and out, kind of like the boys that we were talking about, like the boys. So that's how it was for me. So like, when you were like, oh yeah, you want to do it for the preacher's kid, and I was telling Benji, I was like, I'm not really a preacher's kid because
now remember that when you asked for a piece of the wheel.
Right, but I also told her she might not be a preacher's kid, but she was drugged to Florida. I mean, not Florida,
Germany.
Florida,
yeah, absolutely. You had to watch her, right? Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
right. But that's why she got a better little version of it, because we watched her.
Now, I do need to make a point, and I'm sorry, audience, but if you don't consider yourself, because I don't think you heard me, so I need to say this. If you don't consider yourself one of the preacher's kids, then you are not a part of the kids when we chop up the wheel. Okay, I just want to say that. Anyway, let's keep going. So
what am I getting praised for?
You said what now?
What that mean?
Oh dear. So sorry, guys, we got to have a family conversation real quick.
Okay.
My niece is the oldest niece, and she was raised by my grandparents for her 12 up, whatever the years was. Well, she's been around a while.
Oh,
my niece tends to want to contend for the dividends when my parents poof.
It's not a content. It's in writing. I didn't ask for it. Talk to your mama.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, so I just want to let you know. You said what, Benji?
I'm sorry. We'll have a family conversation.
No, we're not.
No, it's not. So anyway, all right. So Christina, are you a staunch churchgoer?
I am.
You are? Okay.
I am.
Okay.
I am. They got me. They got me.
So what I want to know is, what is different between how you all were raised and how you all live your life now, and what was the canon event that made you say, I'm going to do it differently?
I would say it was the resistance from me and all my siblings. Like, you couldn't get us to don't talk to us about church, get us to do anything in church. It was just like we spent so many years of not being asked but told. And so it just got to a place, and once I became a parent, And I wanted my children to experience, I didn't want them to dislike church like I dislike church. I wanted them to find church as a place that they wanted to be, and not when they go to church like, oh God, what is somebody going to make me do? What is somebody going to, because you already start talking to yourself. Somebody's going to make me do something, whether it's a scripture, a solo, a handout offering. You're going to be told to do that. And of course, we could say no, but we just ain't got to that place where no. Now, if you ask me today, no, I'm not going to do it. You need to really get somebody else to do it. You don't have nobody else figure that part of the service out. I'm not doing it.
So when did you separate then? Because do you love the Lord?
I do.
Does the Lord love you?
He better. That's what his word says.
So when did you separate the two then? When did you separate? Because our parents, okay, in my opinion, and y'all let me know if y'all agree, and grandparents for you, Mason, it's like they have merged the work with the love. And so the going and the sacrificing, the doing and the giving is a part of their relationship with God, where it seems like our generation and below, that's two different things. That's not.
It is two different things.
So I would like to know for all three of you guys, what was the canon event in your lives where you just said, nah, I ain't doing that part. I'm gonna always be for God, but that part I'm not doing anymore.
I wanted to say, I wrote it down before I lose it. When I started questioning what I was doing it for, so because of our uniqueness, a lot of what I learned about God was through my grandparents and, servicing in the church. I was doing it because they told me to. But then when I got older and I started to develop my own relationship with Christ, when it got to the point to where I felt like I was doing things to do it for you and not doing it for God, I had to step back a little bit because I felt like it got to a point to where in my mind, and they never said anything. I'm not saying that they said these things, but it got to the point in my mind when it felt like if I didn't do it, it was like shame on me. God's gonna get me, made me feel bad. And then it's like complete opposite of what I was learning who God was, because God is love. And so, the scripture talks about the thoughts that you have of, purity and love and all these things. These are God thoughts. So if you're doing things for him, it should be out of love. But if you start to do things and it's like, I really don't want to do that, but I'm going to do it because they asked me and da-da-da. And I just started noticing there was a difference in how I did things. And it did cause me to kind of take a step back and just think about what I'm actually doing this for. Who am I doing it for? Am I doing it to make my grandparents happy and glad? Or am I doing it for the glory of God?
Tracking. Gotcha.
Yeah, same. Because it was never about guys, because either I was going to do it or I was going to do it. And then now I do it just because they don't have anybody else. So I'm not being serious right now. Lord knows the last time I've been to church, because I don't do nothing but work. But now me doing stuff is because I'm asked, and mom has asked, and I've said no. Because we can do that now. We can do that now. But for the most part, it was when I graduated, left, got married. I didn't have to do. I purposely was finding big churches, so nobody would be asking me to do anything.
Yes.
Bother you.
Me. They don't need me to read a scripture, sing a song, hold the offering plate, stand behind nobody in case they fall down.
Nothing.
None of that. Because y'all see, when we go to the thingies, where am I always at during altar call?
Yeah.
We're talking about the conference
on the floor. Supposed to be holding a blanket and stuff.
Okay, well, but just for context, the thingies are the annual conferences. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Because I know we all know what the thingies are.
I'm up there, and I don't mind because for the most part, when the what they call again, the
Conferences?
conferences, when we have those, no one bothers me to do anything except for Janice Parker asked me to come help her at the altar, and I love Janice, and I go help her at the altar.
So you basically do it because you want to do it.
Yes,
I love it.
They don't ask me to do anything else.
So
because okay, so how would you say that, Uncle Vincent? Because nobody asked her to do it, but she's doing her part in the community, like in the church. She's doing her part because she wants to do it.
Right.
Like, what is that called? I feel like that's called something.
Individuality,
Okay.
autonomy. Because I think what I'm hearing, and Christine, I'll let you talk next. What I'm hearing from you all, and I have to agree for myself, is our group, because every child from our generation and your generation wasn't raised like this, from our space in life, they taught us God without autonomy.
Yes.
So I think that when we did get the choice, we made choices that we probably wouldn't have made if they would have just let us be in the first place.
Right.
And so I think all of us had to go through this journey of our own to find a safe space for us. And I would say for me, I went out there a little bit, stayed out there a little bit, and then I came a little closer to the fire. And I was like, okay, this is comfortable for me right here. And don't bother, don't ask, I know. This is where I'm at. And I'm glad. God love me, I love God, period. Right. So I think that might have been the mistakes that our parents made, though they were sincere, was they fed us God like almost like we were like little slaves, like take it or you're gonna get whipped by life, you know?
Yeah.
Then we realized that when we didn't take it and the whip didn't come, it was like, oh, you know. All right, Christina, what do you have to say?
I would say, just even growing up, we were told, in church, praise and worship time, we'd be sitting down, we were told to stand up.
Stand up, right.
Told to bow our heads and pray. You looking around, close your eyes. So I don't know if y'all remember, but when I got pregnant with Zaire, my mother made me apologize to the church that I had got pregnant. Yeah. To this day, she says she never did that. I was like, yes, you did. I remember standing up. So for me, I'm 43. And it was just got to this place one day. I was just like, I don't know who I am. I do what my parents tell me to do, whether it's at church, whether it's at home. And not only do I follow suit, my children are following suit. So they're looking like, who am I listening to? You, Nana, and Poppy? And so it just got to this place. I was like, you know what? I share with my parents, too much of our lives are intertwined. Church, prayer, tithes and offering, like, how much tithes I pay, when I'm giving offering, it's too much for me.
Right. I
did that growing up. I'm a grown woman now in her own place with her own children, and some kind of way I'm still answering to you all. So that meant I had to formally take a step back and was like, I'm not going to do this. So in the beginning, I did not go to church. I did not log in to the prayer line. It was just me and God. Who am I? Because I don't know who I am. I have always did what I was told. I served when I was told to serve. And even when I didn't want to serve, there was a part of me that felt guilty that I wasn't serving. But like Nisi said, I wanted to be cheerful in my serving. I wanted to be cheerful in my giving. I wanted to be cheerful when I was meeting the people of God. And I wasn't. It was just like, I'm just doing this because this is how I was raised. And it's just a part of who I am now. And after I had that moment, and of course I went to therapy, and my therapist never told me to leave the church, but she was like, I need to find out who I am. And that's when I took a step back and was like, a lot of who I am was who I was told what to do. And I just kind of took on that identity of do it. So I belong to a church now, and I do absolutely nothing but show up. That's it. I show up. I love the people, but that's it. I'm just still trying to get to know who I am without the instructions of being told how to navigate this thing. Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong, but as an adult, it was that pivotal moment when I was just thinking back like, oh my God, my mom made me. If she would have told me that now, I'd have been like, man, don't like what I'm gonna tell the church.
Wow. That is so interesting. All right, really quickly, we're going to go on a commercial break, but really quickly from the three of you. You had something to say there?
Oh, I was going to just say Christina opened up a core memory that I had forgot about. Because my mother in Morrisville, North Carolina,
I was there.
Made me stand up in front of the church and tell them that I had got pregnant there.
You know,
what? Why? What was that supposed to do?
I have no idea. To this day, I beat myself up because had I had the
now,
I'd be like, first of all, I like to say each and every last one of y'all.
No, right? Mic drop.
Because I know what your child doing. I know what your child doing. So
yeah, and you guys had an interesting space because y'all were females in the church. Because females in the church, y'all had it rough. I don't know. Those purity classes wasn't as nice to you all as they were to us.
No.
At all. And the purity classes, for those of you guys that were narcotic, it was the teenagers. Gosh.
Can I add, I was 29 years old, by the way. And
Jesus.
Vanjie, I was 22.
Grown.
Hold on. Oh, that's the Sharon and Angela.
They couldn't do that in 2024.
And I did it. Nah.
That you know, and Missy, and I don't want to get lost because we got to go to commercial break. But Missy, you asked a wonderful question. Why? Okay, so I'm going live with them tomorrow because this is pre-recorded for Christmas. I want to ask them why. Why did y'all?
I'm gonna tell you, Sharon gonna say that did not happen. I said, Mom, you did it.
It's a crazy juxtaposition because what I can say is that our parents, Vanjie and my parents, your parents, Christina, your grandparents, Missy, I know they meant well. I don't.
I feel like that didn't mean well. That was an embarrassing tactic. Also to try to get in front of other people finding out that the pastor's kids or the preacher's kids or the elder kid got pregnant out of wedlock. That was an embarrassing. There was nothing good and wholesome about that.
Almost like as the preacher's kid, like putting you up on the cross so the saints can see it. Like right. I'm going to take responsibility.
And
all the
this is what
whispering
they
and stuff to be
said.
done.
And Albert Shaw, they say, crucify her. Crucify her. Get her out of here. Get her out of here.
No, for real. That's crazy.
And I don't want to invalidate the experience because I don't know if anyone has been. Now, I wasn't beat up as much by the parents, but I got my own story. So I don't want to invalidate any of you all's experience, including my own. But y'all don't think they meant well?
But she's saying that wasn't out of no wellness, no love, no nothing. I don't see how that was.
I'm like Vanjie. You also got to remember, my father was a command sergeant major.
Yeah.
So now I felt like it was kind of like what Vanjie said. They're trying to get ahead of the streets talking. Okay. So go ahead and
I surrender. Okay.
Yeah.
I heard. Okay. Heard. But that's a thing too, because as leaders' kids, so we had to bear the brunt of things that did not belong to us. And I think that maybe we need to highlight that as well, that it's not just that we were raised in the church, but we were raised like up and coming missionaries and elders and evangelists before we even had a chance to say, yes, Lord. Because, you know, what we did bared on our parents.
Yeah.
Career-wise and ministry-wise. We had a burden on us that maybe the everyday church kid did not have, and we didn't ask for that. Right. And that's the real thing. I think we should do a study. If we had the bandwidth, I would love to do a study on how many preachers' kids are still fully functioning in the church as the parents were. And if I had to bet, well, I already know the statistics. The Black folks, for the first time in history, are not going to church today in any time in history.
Mhm.
And if I had to be a guest, it's stuff like what y'all are saying. This is a lot of hits, a lot of autonomy lost. And I think that for us, when we realized we had freedom, we started questioning things that I don't think that our parents had the liberty to question.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't, and I don't know if they would agree, but this is why we're on the show by ourselves. So we can just like, I feel like, let me ask y'all this. We got to go to break. Let me ask y'all, this is my theory. My parents said this is my theory. I feel like the generation before us, because they had to get it from the mud deeper than we had to get it from, it's like they had no choice but to just give it all to God because they needed miracles to get us to a place where we can be comfortable. I'm in Burlington, y'all are where y'all are at, and we live a different life than our parents did.
Yes.
We didn't get it out of the mud. It was out the mud when we came along. So we had therapy, counseling, talking, social media. We don't have to put it all on God. We can figure things out and still love God. And I think that's the difference between the past generation, our generation, and your generation, and me, because we can love God and go to therapy. We can love God and talk to friends. We can love God and be like, no, we ain't going today. And I don't think they had that liberty. What do y'all say about that?
And then you gotta understand, like our grandmother and our great grandmother, the way mom was, because you gotta understand the Christian that both of our parents are now are not the same type of religion.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Religious
That's
church
true.
folks they were back in the day.
Now that's the truth.
So a lot of what we went through from our parents was taught down to them. And it was you better do what the church folks say, you better do what the elders say, or you're gonna die and go to hell, you're gonna burn as soon as you walk out the door.
Yeah.
And that's how they were raised, that's how they try to raise us. But as generations go on and you have other influence and you see other things around the world and stuff like that, you're like, now hold on now, wait a minute. And honestly, if you read the Bible and study the word and talk to God for yourself, you would realize he did not say that if I didn't come to church on a Wednesday night, the church door was open, that I was going to die and go to hell.
Right.
Yeah, they put the fear in God in them.
They put the fear of the institution.
Yeah.
The fear of the institution.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's true too. But
you like that, because that's your words. These are my words.
No, I agree.
Oh, you're okay. They put the fear of the institution. It's like when we got older, we had to learn God. We knew the church.
Yeah.
Then when we got older, because now the Bible says if you train up a child in the way you want them to go, it ain't going to depart. So there was a natural inclination for me, and y'all can agree, y'all can tell me if you agree or disagree, to want to be connected to God, but have nothing to do with that thing we were taught.
Yeah.
Would you all agree with that?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Great conversation. We're going to go to commercial break real quick, right? Then we're going to get a little deeper in the cons. Yeah, we're going to get a little deeper in the cons, all right? Listen, like, share, subscribe, and comment. Whatever platform you're seeing this on, like, share, subscribe, and comment. Whatever comments you all leave or questions you all leave, we will address them on this coming Sunday, all right? We will be right back.
Hello, my name is Pastor Perry Hill. I am the founder of Lifeline Prayer Center.
I am Angeline Hill. I am the vice president of Lifeline Prayer Center.
I'm VTerrillHill, the founder of SafeSpace.
We would like to invite you to our conference,
Impartation 2025.
A cross-generational family conference.
Our generation deserves to serve God without constraints of cultural or religious beliefs.
The purpose of this event is to bridge the gap from one generation to the next. That different styles of worship are done in unison to the divine one, and the power of God may be felt like Pentecost.
Honoring God based on who you know God to be from the depths of our hearts, that everyone will feel the love of God with no limitations.
For more information,
go to lifelinepresscenter.com
or scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen. All right, thanks for rocking with us. We appreciate you guys so much for tarrying with us as we go down memory lane and disclose how we really got a relationship with God. Because the reality is the crux of what I think are the kind of messages that we stayed with God, but we chose to do it on our own way.
Yeah.
We might have divorced the institution, but we have found and on a journey to continue to discover the God of our understanding. And to be honest with you, I don't think that's so bad. Now, I don't know if the parents would agree, but I don't think it's so bad. We're going to talk about the conference at the end of the show. But we need to get to some tea. I got some questions for you all. Raised in the church, community in the church, understand the church. When it was time to face the world, were you all ready for the world, or was it a crash course?
So I'll answer this. So for me, okay, yes, I was raised in the church. I had to go to church 800 times a day. But I was also, have always, and will always be vigilant.
Correct.
So when I stepped out, well, when it was time for me to go out in the world, because I did have people outside of the church community, I did go do stuff. The world was not a shock to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay. The part of the world that was a shock to me was that my whole teenage years was in Germany. So then coming back stateside, that part was a little bit of shock, but like the world and all that other stuff, no, because Vanjie was Vanjie when she wasn't at church.
So when I say the world, just so we can be on the same page, I'm not talking about just like going out. I'm talking about the entire, like education, job, the whole nine, career, all of it.
All that. But this is to talk. So for me, that's what I'm saying. For me, 13, started working at the commissary when it was a little baby commissary. Worked at the commissary. Right.
Hold on. Christina, were you in Hohenfels for the baby commissary?
I was not. I came when it was a baby.
Girl, the times.
But for me, it was also different because you gotta remember, I graduated, came to North Carolina, got pregnant, went back to Germany, got married. So I have I didn't step out in the world as a because I graduated on 17-year-old trying to figure out life, school, and all that stuff. I came here, had fun, got pregnant, got married. So the world kind of just was, for me, there. I didn't have any problems when I got married, got a job. I was married. Never been without a job until when I was pregnant with the twins. And they were like, listen, you've got to stop working. Other than that, so for me, there was never a thing with that because I went from house to military wife. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have struggles, if that's what you want to call it, or life things like that. Mm-hmm. And then we lived in Fayetteville, so I had family.
Right.
Type of a thing.
Right. Okay. Missy, what do you say? Church. What do you say, man?
But I didn't go to church.
Right, correct. Missy, what do you say?
For me, so like I was saying earlier, there was a period of time where I was not in church. Going from being in church consistently, be raised in church, like from a young age, and then, moving with my dad into Idaho, there was a period of time where going into my viewpoint outside of the church, because that's what the question is, right? Like, okay, so going into the world with what I knew from a young child, and then getting into the atmosphere where everything that I knew no longer applied. I will say that what ended up happening for me, even though I was not consistently going to church when I was living with my dad, what was already instilled with me, like I kept. Right. So there were times where like I did have a Bible, I read it. Nobody, anytime I was going through something, because I was grounded a lot, I ended up like all I had to do was read. I read a lot. Right. And a lot of what I read was the Old Testament and the Bible. I was just so consumed into that, and that was how I dealt with my real world outside of being in church. I hope I answer that. And
It's your answer. It's absolutely your answer.
I just want to make sure I'm answering the question though.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a time when going into the real world at a young age that I did still rely on the word of God to get me through, because it was definitely a difficult time when I moved in with my dad, and then being a teenager, nobody understands you. You feel isolated, you feel alone. Right. And I just knew from going to church all the time and growing up with my grandparents that if something was going on, something was wrong, just read. That was my connection outside of the church. So even now, as an adult who does not necessarily go to church all the time, I still read my Bible. I still read my word. I be calling you like,
I was saying to myself, oh, she still does that now. But I didn't want
I still do that now. And it has helped me going into the real world, because I don't know, it's just something that I always have, that connection to Christ. If I know that all I have to do is speak and he hears me. You know what I mean? So it's just like going into the real world, navigating how I do my job, and going into my own career path that I'm, still zooming up through. I don't know. I just feel like that part has never left me. And I'm thankful to them for that. I understand why they did it. I get it now. But yeah.
Nice. Christina?
Man, I drowned.
Yo. Tell us about
it was hard. Because of course you go from being told what to do, very structured. And then you get this taste of, because even while I was still in my parents' house, I did not go to college when I first graduated. My parents was like, you got two choices. You can go to military or you can go to school. I was like, I'm about to move in with Vanjie, and I put all my club shoes in a trash bag, and we stayed in a 1-bedroom apartment and partied.
Hold on, where was this?
In Germany.
I got a third option.
Where were y'all staying together in Germany?
Vanjie had an apartment.
I had an appointment right outside of base, right outside of Horsefields. I had an appointment.
I know that the foundation was shaking.
That is crazy.
I never knew that.
Yes. So I put all my stuff in a big black trash bag, and I was like, deuces, I'm out of here. And I literally, I'm not embarrassed. I tell my children, I partied. All the things, it was like I was making up for lost times, because I couldn't do what my friends did. I couldn't go where my friends went. Even when it came to like a sport, if a sport fell on a Sunday, I couldn't participate because we were in church. If we had a basketball game, we literally left the basketball game on a Friday night and went to joy night. So we didn't get to hang out with our friends afterwards and stuff like that. So when I got into the real world and I got unlimited freedom, then you remember the time we was going to the club and me and my mama had that stare off?
That's why I was sitting here smiling, because I remember that day, and I'm sitting there like,
that was like a little bit of freedom. Now, in my mom's mind, I'm thinking that she thought she was gonna make me be like, all right, never mind, I ain't gonna go. I was like, I'm going, and we can stay here as long as you want to. I'm going.
Oh my God, yo.
But it got to a point where I didn't have to sneak out. I didn't have to say I was staying at such and such house. And once I got that freedom, I was like, I'm never going back.
Yeah.
It became where I transitioned to an adult. So I'm like, all right, you know, did your partying. We done heard about you all over the base, and you there and you doing this. I did go to college, but when I got to college, that was even more freedom, because remember, we was in Germany. So it's still a little bit more structure, but I left overseas, came to the United States, and I'm like, what in the...
it's on now.
It's on and popping, Vincent, okay? So I got pregnant. And even while I got pregnant, I was one of the ladies that you would see in the club with a stomach. I'm still gonna turn up. And then my mother was like, it's time for you to come home. I'm like, what? I didn't have no plan. I'm pregnant without a plan in place at all. Like,
Right.
I wasn't thinking Pampers. I wasn't thinking about a job. I wasn't thinking about a career. I wasn't thinking about how I'm going to start to provide for this child I'm about to bring into this world. All I'm thinking about is like, even after I had my daughter, I was looking at my mom. I was like, okay, I'm about to enroll back into school, so I'm gonna get ready to go back. My mom said, she was looking at me like, what is this? Is this really my child? She thinks she just gonna have a baby and leave and go right back to her life.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was gonna do. Oh, you want me to raise her? Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Yo, we were.
So I would say it was hard for me. It wasn't hard, but it was like a rude awakening because I just grew up in such a structured environment, and my siblings, all of us had that rude awakening because we all went through, like, once we got to the States,
Right.
we all went through a time where it was like, man, I love this freedom. No one's telling us to go to church. No one's even looking for us. No one's even, at that point, we could look at our cell phones and decide, am I going to answer this phone? It's my mom and dad. No, I'm not answering. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing or whatever. So for me, it wasn't a smooth transition. Did I talk to God? Yes, when I was in trouble. But other than that, I'm going to be honest, I was not. I was kind of like, it is what it is. That was my take on it. So.
Wow. I think that's interesting. I'm probably between both of you all, because for me, the only thing that I felt I was proficient in was church. So I had to work up so I always had a job, but I wasn't trying to be the best on my job. You know, I wasn't trying to I wasn't pushing to go to college. I was pushing to serve the Lord. And I think that's the part that I felt underdeveloped, because I saw my classmates and associates, you know, with this kind of drive with the quote unquote natural things of the world. I didn't have. I had a drive, like I had a God consciousness, but I didn't have achievement consciousness. I didn't have success consciousness. All of my achievement and success was by way of, am I pleasing the institution? And so for me, it took me a long time to realize that, and I'm not being facetious when I say this, I'm being serious. Praying and fasting is not going to get me a promotion. I got to show up on time, and I got confidence.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I was waiting on things to happen, and I realized one day, hold on a second, it ain't about to happen.
Right.
Because I wasn't taught. I was taught, pray about it. I wasn't taught. You got to get up and work. You got to get up and grind. So the grinding I'm doing now, I wish I was taught. Let me say it like this: the grinding that I was taught to do for church, I wish my parents would have taught me to do that for everything.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt like I was underdeveloped for the world, because I was in competition with people whose parents was down their throat about no, excel, do good, right? We were down our throat, get dressed, go to it. We can't be late. Come on, let's go. So that was my version. All right, we're gonna
Vincent, can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
To that, I experienced that as well, because my senior year, no one had talked to me about SAT, ACTs, what my college options were, what did I want to be when I grow up. Like, those weren't conversations that we were having on a normal basis.
Right.
And so when it got to my senior year and I'm hearing all of my peers talk about, oh my God, I got my first choice. I got into my first choice. And I'm like, first choice what? Like, what are you talking about?
First choice, that's Jesus Christ. What you talking about?
So I agree with you with that.
Yeah, that. So let me ask you, so there are people that are watching this, we're 21 episodes in. Now, let me say this. I am well aware that we are a microcosm of life. And I know that the audience I'm speaking to, or we are speaking to, is directly for those who have been raised in the staunch. Okay, so we're not saying all Christians didn't push their children to do SATs.
Right.
We're talking to a specific community of people. Okay. I want to make sure, because everyone wasn't laser focused on what we were laser focused on. That being said, there are some parents that are watching this right now, and they 10 toes down. I don't care what the devil say.
Mm-hmm.
These kids gonna be raised up.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for you all to speak from your hearts to those parents, from your experience, and so that they don't make the mistakes that our parents made. Because we had an opportunity to minister to somebody, wake somebody up, or even make them think like, maybe I should sit my kids down and think, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? Go ahead, have at it.
I was gonna say my biggest thing is talk with your children. You speak, stop talking, let them speak, listen. You need to be listening to hear, not listening to respond. It's something I learned from work. Listen to hear, not listen to respond. And actually, it doesn't matter what age your kids are. If they're grown and they want to sit down and have a conversation, or if they're younger.
That's right.
My mom thinks my kids and I are weird because they talk to me. And I let them talk. Sometimes I have to rein them in. Like, now, hold on, now, wait. I'm still mama, so let's just rein this in a little bit.
Right.
But I didn't want them to be afraid to speak, and be afraid to express themselves. Because, like, a lot of times, things that I was going through, I couldn't go to my parents because it was either going to be one, as soon as I said something, then I was either going to get yelled at and I didn't even finish what I was saying, or it was going to be God, church, this versus, hey, listen to me, console me, something. Well, you need to pray more, or you need to go to church, you need to lay on your face, lay on the altar.
Right.
So talk to your kids, talk with your kids. I don't know if churches even do church 100 times a day anymore.
No.
Well, some do, because I contracted in a church in Atlanta, and they had Wednesday, Sunday, and then they would have sometimes Sunday night services on fifth Sunday, and that service installation. They did a lot of church. Then you think about choir rehearsal and all of that. If you do Wednesday, Sunday, and choir rehearsal, that's 3 days out the week, and it's only 7.
Okay, and I was just asking because I was like, if they do, your child being at church every time the door open, it's not gonna save them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
That's real. That is real. That's real.
It's not. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Missy, Chrissy, whoever want to go next.
Christina.
Yeah, I would say to piggyback off of Angie, listen to understand, not listen to respond. And sometimes as parents, we do get it wrong. We are wrong. I'm big on accountability and apology. So I would say for your children, if they bring something to your light, don't follow up with a but listen, you are wrong sometimes. You do get it. We're human, so we're going to get it wrong. We're not going to dot every I. We're not going to cross every T. Right. But when your child brings that to your attention, don't shoot them down. Listen to their heart. What I have seen in my own situation within my own family is the more you shove God down their throat, as they grow up and become adults, it's very hard for them to formulate a relationship because all they know is what you've taught them. So I would encourage to, sometimes not always be in the church, but have church with your children. See where they're at with the prayer sometimes. See where they're at with, instead of us going to Bible study, how about we have Bible study and you teach me something that Let me see what you know and what do you think about this and how do you feel about this, God? One of the things that I struggle with and I always beat myself up about is with my son. I didn't have him in the church a lot. And there are some things that he's asking. Zoe and Zaire are like, really? You didn't know that? That's in the Bible. And, he's like, no, I didn't know anything about that. And I'm like, oh my God, I dropped the ball. But with him, I love how God has strategically allowed him and I to talk about the Bible. And I'm able to get ideas and what he thinks and who he thinks God is, because Zaire was raised by my parents. So she's thinking the straight and narrow. It is tight and it's right, but it's not. If you get it wrong, you're doomed to hell. Right. Like no one was teaching us that when we were growing up, that he's an understanding God. So you can be saved and you still get things wrong. But as you grow in your relationship, I always teach my children, God is a relationship God. That's what he wants, a relationship. We weren't raised on that. It was like speaking in tongues, heaven and hell, serve, No one ever taught me, he really just wants you. He really just wants your heart. Correct. He really just wants to love on you. He really wants to hear from you. If that had been shown to me, I think I wouldn't have waited so late in the game to develop my own relationship. So I would tell any parent, they're going to have the babies. They're going to listen to the music. They're going to have the sex. Just be prepared to listen without judgment, because you know what, though? Y'all got a background, too. We just ain't found the right people to tell us what they really know about you when you was growing up. But
let's do the math.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes it be showing up. It be showing up in the way y'all respond, the way y'all talk to people. Yeah, I always beat my kids to the punch. I sure did do that. I did. I did leave the barracks and went to the other one. We did, Vanjie.
I know Hohenfels ain't never been the same when y'all left.
Listen, we was, that song "Tear the Club Up." That was because me and Vanjie, they made that song with me and Vanjie in mind.
And we couldn't hide the preacher's kid and his command sergeant major's daughter. They knew no matter where we went, they knew where we were.
Right.
I don't care how far we went. You sergeant major daughter.
Right.
You the daughter. Like, oh my God.
Yo, that's funny. Missy, what you got, babes?
I would just simply say to those parents, let God be God.
Yes.
If you really truly believe in the Lord, let God be God.
That's good.
So you can continue praying and fasting for your kids, grandkids, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But also leave space for God to be God.
That's good. I can even take that. Let me take that note down. Be God.
Evangelist missionary Missy just preached. I used to tell my private community all the time, do you believe it's going to work? Yeah. Well,
yes.
Act like it.
Right.
I like what first. So let me surmise. Vanjie said basically, this super Christian thing you're doing does not guarantee anything outside of a God consciousness.
Right.
And you're looking at 3 proofs of that right now. So that's number one. But your kids could get a God consciousness without the superimposed.
Yes.
And she says talk, and then Chrissy comes behind her and says, talk to your kids. And what I like to say is, your kids are humans.
Yeah.
And when it comes to God, you cannot pull humanity away because it comes across as cold to the kids.
Yeah.
You're human when it comes to everything else, but then anything with God, humanity's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Let me tell you how that's going to affect your kids growing up, possibly. They're going to feel like they're never going to be good enough to please God.
Yes.
Because humanity was taken out of the God conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You cannot show grace and love and patience and kindness when it comes to church and all things God. They're going to see God as a patientless, loveless, kindless whippersnapper. And that's not going to bode well on their self-esteem, their self-worth, and all of the above. Then Missy says basically this: if you really believe in the scripture that if you train up a child in the way they should go, that they will not depart, then let the scripture work. I think all of them give great advice. And I think my surmise will be I talk a lot anyway. So these women have said what they needed to say. I can hush. This kind of conversation is going to be, hold on. Do I have it here? Give me a sec. I need to put this up real quick and then we're going to close out. Do I have it in here? Come on. I bind you, computer. All right, here we go.
Mind you, computer.
Y'all remember back in the day in church, the sound system would go out, the blood of Jesus. Come on.
No, for real.
The reality is they got somebody on the soundboard, don't know nothing.
They don't know what they're doing.
The blood of Jesus, time to destroy the unity. So I'm putting a barcode on the screen now, and I'm going to put the Lifeline Prayer Center website on the screen. We have a conference coming up. Oh, it covers the barcode. Never mind. We got a conference coming up March the 7th through the 9th. And if you enjoy this kind of conversation, we're ripping the scabs off, y'all. Yeah. We're going to have church, but let me break it down for you real quick. Friday, we'll have a meet and greet, and then we're going to have a therapist talk to us, and we're going to be able to ask questions about God, church, reconciling families, how to bridge the gap, how to heal wounds. And then we're going to have a little midnight prayer for those that like to moan and groan for Jesus. Then we'll wake up.
I was there. I was the moaners and groaners.
I saw that lady push you down. It's okay.
Then we'll have Saturday morning prayer at 9:30 in the morning. And then we're going to have Bridging the Gap with the Heels. What that is these podcasts. And we're going to have a facilitator. And we're going to talk about how because I went from an elder, saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, to okay, hold on, Vanjie. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. To what I am now, and I am perfectly fine with it, and God is fine with it. But the family wasn't fine with it, and we had to figure it out. And we're going to be talking about all of that. Then we'll take a break, and then the next session is going to be how to prevent the family breakdown. We'll take a break, and the next session will be how to heal the family breakdown. So we're covering all bases. You're either new and you don't want nothing to happen, or you've been in it a little while and you're trying to heal it because it happened.
Yeah.
And then finally, we'll have a little church. All right. And my mother will be speaking. Then at 8:30, those of you guys that like a good time, we're going to have a live SafeSpace show in VTerrillHill at 8:30. It's going to be a great and then we'll come back at 12 noon for a service that my dad will be preaching. So it's a mixture of healing, wholeness, therapy, talking, and a little bit of church on the side. Where you find that at? What happened?
I have a question. I have a statement when you finish.
Oh, no, you already interrupted me. Go right on ahead.
Let me tell y'all
dear.
How stout and religious
God. Oh, okay.
VTerrillHill is.
Oh, God. Go ahead. Go ahead and tell the story. Go ahead.
So him and I had an apartment together as adults.
All right, go ahead.
Evangeline had a friend over.
Oh my God.
Evangeline and a friend were doing grown-up things. VTerrillHill comes home, pleading the blood of Jesus.
You did not.
I'm in my room that I pay rent for in our apartment we share. Come busting in my room in the name of Jesus, and then went and told my mama on me.
He named the Jesus while you was doing it.
And busted my room.
Did you stop or did you keep going? Because I would have kept the rebellious me would have kept going.
No,
what do you think the answer to that question was?
He closed that door right back home.
Hold on. The cringe I feel right now, that is what I meant when you really raise religious monsters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I, at that time, felt justified. Like, she ain't gonna be having no sex in here. Like you was a little girl. And you my older sister.
Mm-hmm.
I am so sorry. Have I apologized for that yet?
Yeah.
I'm sorry again.
But you said something when you were saying how you went from Elder Hill, and then I thought about it, and I felt like, it is what it is. We've talked about it before. But that's one of those things when you raise your kids and you don't teach them a balance. Yeah, they don't know how to figure out how to be saved on their side of the apartment. while their roommate is unsaved doing what they do.
Who do you think you was busting out like that?
Because that's just what happens. You become the product of how you were raised. You ain't gonna be bringing that spirit up in here. And I'll tell the real story because she was nice about it. I came home from work. I put my clergy collar on. I opened up the Bible and I busted in that room reading Psalms 23. That's what happened.
What?
And felt justified about it.
But you gave her music.
No, where's the music? I read it from the Bible.
I know, but she said she kept going. She was a
No, that's not actually true. Oh boy got up. It's cringy. It's a real story. And let me say this too. It was when I left the institution, I reconnected back with my family. Because not only did the institution have me a robot for everything else, it worked against my family when it was time for me to be human for them. 2016, when I left the institution, it just so happens, guess where else I came back to? The family. This is real. And I'm glad you, first of all, that's so crazy. Jesus Christ.
I'm so shocked.
Missy, Missy, cut it out. You're making me feel worse.
I just never thought like.
So you didn't know the religious side of Uncle.
She didn't really know me like
I knew
that.
a religious side of him.
No, listen, I remember Vincent. I remember coming to hear you preach a few times, and I sat in the back. I was like, "Oh Lord, let me stay away. I don't want him to pull an Angeline Hill on me like she did me and you that time we went to the club and came to church the next day."
Oh my God!
But we was at church.
Yeah,
so I would have been happy y'all were there.
Yeah, no, she was. She came and she said she gonna show the devil. She ain't scared.
No, I was a mean demon for Jesus. I was mean.
Call in the modern day call.
I remember one time we were at a jurisdiction. This is overtime now, guys. We were at a jurisdictional function in Germany, and I was sitting in the back of the church, and it was Kevin Gordon and some of the Puritan guys. We were all friends. Kevin Gordon and I think David Bristow was sitting a couple of rows ahead of me. And they started talking and laughing. And I was looking. As soon as church was up, I went up there. What y'all sitting there talking and laughing and cutting up in church? And I rebuked them like I was an 80-year-old man. I was a fool for Jesus.
So you were like the Paul.
Yeah,
I was.
Modern day Paul.
I was. You know how I'm expressive and I'm all in for what I do now? That's how I was as Elder Vincent Hill. I didn't I was safe for real. Yeah. So, but that's nothing to brag about. Like, because I was dying on the inside at the same time. I was hiding my sexuality. I was overcompensating because I felt like I had to present a certain kind of way.
So I got a question. I'm so sorry to bring this up.
Sure.
I just wanted to dig a little bit deeper because I've never met besides me, my papa, but I kind of got the end of their.
You got a version.
So I haven't been in the presence of a Jim Jones type of
right.
Okay, so what was going in your noggin? Like, what were your thoughts in your mind to make you think that you had the authority to bust into somebody else's room? No, I'm like, what were your how did you justify it?
You got to remember, first of all, I started preaching at 15, and I was like 20, 22, so I was preaching for 7 whole years by then.
Right, what was the justification? Because there had to be. Oh, you're
so first of all, I was the man of God.
Oh, you was.
So I'm saying I was a man of God back then. So I already had a certain amount of privilege and authority that the little sinner girl would never have.
Okay.
I looked at my sister not as a sister, but as a sinner.
Whoa.
And it was my job to get her together and bring order to the house. As ridiculous as that sounds, that was the case. Think about it. Think about it. Like, you've been in church before and they want to come pray for you and they do stuff to you without asking. They lay hands on you. They pour oil on you. It's like the moment that God tells them, oh, y'all got another story? Hold on.
I am the worst person to sit next to in church. Please never sit next to me if something going down. Just don't.
I remember a time, y'all, and I told the story yesterday. Just to give you some sobriety to this. That's not the word I'm going to use, but I'll use that. I was in a church one time, and an elder. I was back on the balcony, crying, minding my business, my own circle. Elder come rubbing my back. Now, y'all know that is a cardinal sin for Vincent Hill. Touch me. I told the guy, I'm good. And he looked me in my grown 43-year-old face, or 42-year-old face, and said to me, God told me to come pray for you. And kept on going. That is the monstrous acts that this divine authority gives over autonomy, where someone feels like they can force themselves on a grown man because God said so. So that was the mentality I was in. And Vanjie wasn't saved according to my standards. So I felt like I already had rule over her anyway. I was better. No. Let me call a spade a spade. I was better than her. So yeah, I was not a good guy. I was not a good guy of character. I didn't have no love. I didn't have no grace. She was my sister. If anything, after the guy left, you good? You all right?
Need some water?
I should have taken care of her. Yeah, like something like, you good? He didn't hurt you, did he? No, I go in there. I wish I could take that back, Vanjie. To God, I wish I could take that back. That's hard. Yeah. But that was the mentality. And I don't want to be. What you say, Van?
But no, so like, yeah, and like I said, one of the reasons I brought it up is when you was like, I was Elder Vincent Hill. I was like, he really was Elder Vincent Hill because he was God's chosen child, evidently, at some point in life. But it kind of went in with the thing. So I don't want you to think I brought that up for.
Oh, no, it needed to be brought up because I am an example of what can go wrong. Because watch this. I was the pride and joy of the jurisdiction, of the local church, of the parents.
You're going to make sure we know.
But guess what, though? I was the abomination according to them. In my heart. It was actions. So I'm glad you brought that up because some of these parents right now, you are thinking your child is okay because they're speaking in tongues, they're laying on hands, they're dancing and shouting, and they bumping skins. And they just up onto the bleachers, and they have learned how to please you by going through the acts. Especially if you don't have a real relationship with them, and the only time you show them favor is when they're going to death. You better listen to what they say. You better talk to them kids. Because so yeah, you open. We need almost a part two because now we're going on a rampage now. No, that was needed. I'm embarrassed, but that was needed. I'm glad you said that because that was needed. I'm a good example. Everybody ain't having kids at the clubs. Some of them devils are sitting right up there shouting with you. Talking about, come on, mama, let's
Yep.
Yeah.
Right
there. I will say this. I think Vanjie and I freedom, like once it bothered a lot of the church people because in my mind, we're doing what you would love to do. Ooh. So instead of saying, can I come with you? You're going to go run to my parents and condemn what I'm doing and talk about what you see and what you hear and what the people are saying. Right. And even to this day, there are some of the people who we went to church with, they talk very badly about us. But then when you log on social media and you see their kids, you like, wow, we weren't far off. Like, actually, we're doing good. You were paying attention to little old me when you should have been paying attention to really? Wow.
That's so real.
And there are some people I challenge my mom who she does still talk to them. And I'm like, how they talked about me. Like, make it make sense to me. Yeah. And so it is a good time. It is a good thing often when my mom tells me, oh, such and such asked about you. I'm like, I'm glad she didn't ask me because I'm definitely going to ask her what was her problem many years ago.
What's the issue?
I'll call names. So let me stay as a show host because I don't know.
Yeah, I ain't gonna do that. Lord, my mama passed out.
Well, you know what? We ought to do that because they don't know. There ain't nobody listening. We ought to just call a whole bunch of names so they can just pass out while they watch this in real time.
Look, if you went to Albershoff, I know you talked about me. I know you.
There it is.
Yeah. If you
know what Albershoff is, you talked about her.
Yeah.
Like even if you know what it is.
And I know what it is, and I know what the kids did and what they're doing. Okay.
Episode 21 got the heat, baby.
Period. Because
I wanted to, such and such said you was doing it. Now I do want people to understand when Christina and I were going out and hanging out. I was an adult. I had already had 2 kids out there just playing around anyway.
Yeah, y'all was grown.
Right.
Yeah.
So when it was, such and such said they saw you. So I have a question. Why were they where I was?
Right.
So either they were there and saw me where they clearly shouldn't been since it was a problem I was there. Are they just sitting around and they got little, like, there's one particular person who always had a problem with me. And the reason I was laughing really, really hard when you mentioned, they come pray for you.
Hold on.
Who is it? Y'all not gonna say it?
Oh my God. Listen, this what y'all do, if you do not have preacher's kids, if you've never been a preacher's kids, you don't know this kind of conversation.
No, you don't.
Conversation we have after church in a little group. What y'all talking about? Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I know exactly who you're talking about. Okay, how can
I was sitting next to Miss Christie, and so that made the situation 10 times worse.
Hold on, I'm gonna text you in the private thread. Y'all, we've been messing on this. I don't care. All right, it's in the private thread.
Yes.
I knew it. That was the biggest devil in the church if there was ever one. Matter of fact, she was such a devil in the church, I can guarantee you she's still a devil. Oh, this is so fun. I needed this. This is therapy. Who else want to talk about? Let's talk about somebody else.
Listen, so they wanted me to come up there tomorrow. Come to the altar. No. So you know what they did? Because I wouldn't go to the altar. They knelt right there and started praying for me. Oh, the whole time I got somebody sitting to the left of me, dying laughing in the middle of it.
That was Chrissy?
Yes.
That's hilarious, yo.
No.
Oh my God.
What Christina said about going back to that. I had a lady, I ain't gonna name the church, but going back to what you were saying, Christina, about how like it wasn't until you got on social media and you saw what their kids and their family and stuff was doing. I swear I had a lady and I just couldn't understand it. And I think I was like maybe 19 or 20 years old. And we were in church and we were like, I was just sitting down. She was sitting next to me because I feel like if I say more, it's going to be a little bit more clear who I'm talking about. And it was like part of the service where everybody do altar call. Yeah. And so
I'll be going all the
Yeah. And it was a part of the service where you do the altar call and stuff like that. And so she called herself, ministering to me. And, me, I'm like, God, like I'm rolling my eyes because I'm going to do what I want to do when I get ready to do it.
Yeah.
If my grandma and my grandpa ain't sitting next to me, telling me to go up there, you're not going to make me go up there. That's not how this is going to work.
Right.
So she just said that. She's like, all you got to do is give them all of it. And I'm thinking like, ma'am, you don't even know me. Like, you don't know if I gave them all. You don't know. Why do you think I'm not saved?
Do you know my alls, ma'am?
Yeah. And so mind you, she's sitting over there talking to me. So I'm like, where's your daughter? Why are you not over there ministering to her? Because I know she's not saved.
Oh. So
why is this energy towards me? You can walk right over there to her and say the exact same thing you said to me to get her life to Christ and not worry about me. Now I understand like, people who want to make sure like, no, I don't understand. I didn't understand.
You're not gonna make sense of it.
It wasn't a business. You know what I mean? Like, especially since I was like a constant goer, it was like, just because you don't see me shouting in church, don't mean my life is, I haven't given my life to Christ.
Right.
Just because I don't move in the spirit like you move in the spirit doesn't mean that I don't have a relationship with God. So I was low-key offended, because I was like, what you know about me to think that I need to go up there on that altar?
Right. Yeah.
I would say, for me, with my children, when it comes to the church, I am a helicopter mother.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what you're telling my child. My son has gone to the altar a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going right there too, because I'm trying to hear what are you telling him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know. He's going to be respectful. He's going to listen. But if you try to push him down, if you try to force him, don't make me act up at this altar. I'm gonna have to stop you.
Right.
I have to, and I'm the same way. Even with my parents are more seasoned. There are still parts of the Bible that I'm still learning. So even when they are ministering to my oldest daughter, what did Nana say?
Right.
And what is the interpretation? And what did you get from it? I'm not saying challenge what she's saying. I want you to get to know him for yourself. It's great information, but I just want you to just check how it's being presented to you. Make sure it makes sense for you. And it's because of my encounters in the church. It's because of my encounters at the altar. It's because of what's happened in the Puritan group. The youth. Zoe's at the age now where she's in the youth group. I'm gonna be. Do you want to volunteer? No, I'm just sitting here to hear what y'all talking about. I don't, don't put my name next to nothing. I just want to hear what y'all are talking about, so I can make sure Zoe is at a place where she can formulate her own identity and she can ask questions. I don't want it to be where I'm just dropping my child off with the church and y'all are forcing stuff down their throats.
Right.
I want you to present God with the fruits of the spirit. I'm in my 40s. I ain't heard nothing about love, kindness. It was just fire and brimstone. So I try to make sure my children, even the adult ones, you're presenting who God is and what he really intends for us from a place of love and not your personal agenda and intentions behind it. So I am like that now. My son go to the altar. I'm like, hold on, what you say?
Right.
I think that, listen, let me honor you, three wonderful women, wonderful Black women. What I can say is that what I've heard is none of you have forsaken God consciousness, or Christ.
No.
Let's be very specific, or Jesus Christ. And so I think that when you all could have thrown your hands up and nipped it all in the bud, you stuck to your laurels, what was in you. In other words, you're being authentic and true to yourself. Just as you don't serve like our parents served, you're serving how you want to serve. And that's authenticity at its best. And regardless, because you all have Christ consciousness, everything around you is going to be affected with Christ consciousness.
Yes.
So kudos to you all, for being authentic, because there are people out there, I believe, that don't believe in Jesus and really just mad at their mom and daddy. So y'all are being authentic even by still believing in Jesus.
And can I say, not even just maybe their mom and daddy, maybe mom and daddy, church hurt somebody in the church.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you enjoyed this conversation, we ripping the band-aids off in this conference. We are not going to play hallelujah, amen, and act like everything is all right. We're going to have real conversation. And by the time we go through all those sessions, including Friday night, we're going to be ready for church on Saturday afternoon.
Right.
Again on Saturday night, and then go back again on Sunday to make sure we got it all right. What is that? What is that? The QR code is there to scan. But what I'll do for those of you that are on your mobile devices, I'm going to put the website on. Thank you guys so much. Have a merry Christmas. And for those of you who don't celebrate, a happy holidays. And my parents will be back on the panel next Sunday, or really this Sunday rather. We'll be back on the panel. believe it or not, for the last show of this podcast.
Yeah. Woo.
Thank you guys for following. Thank you, No Governments. Thank you, Vanjie. Thank you, Misty. And thank you, Chrissy, for joining me today. You guys have a wonderful day. We're going to play this commercial and get on out of here. Maybe that's
Hello, my name is Pastor Perry Hill. I am the founder of Lifeline Press Center.
I am Angeline Hill. I am the vice president of Lifeline Press Center.
I'm VTerrillHill, the founder of SafeSpace.
We would like to invite you to our conference,
Impartation 2025.
A cross-generational family conference.
Our generation deserves to serve God without constraints of cultural or religious beliefs.
The purpose of this event is to bridge the gap from one generation to the next. That different styles of worship are done in unison to the divine one, and the power of God may be felt like Pentecost.
Honoring God based on who you know God to be from the depths of our hearts, that everyone will feel the love of God with no limitations.
For more information,
Go to lifelinepresscenter.com
Or scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen.